You got the song? Music, Jonathan. David, you can go, I think.
David.
David, you there? I think he's muted himself.
Hello, everyone.
Weekly podcast for every disability. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Hi, I'm David D. Today, got with me Jonathan Shar.
Put your volume up, David.
Hello.
David Cunningham. And today, we've got with us a friend of the show,
Hello.
Nash and Cohle. And we'll be talking about the performing arts and disability. Please like and share. And over to you, Cunningham.
Thanks so much for that, David. And look, welcome, guys, to the episode today with CripChat Australia. And g'day to you, Dean.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome back, mate.
Pleasure to be here.
And a special hello to you, Holly. We haven't forgotten about you.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know what? It's a pleasure having you both. And yeah, welcome back, Dean and Holly. I hope it's not your last time with us. Hope you come many times to the podcast and have a chat with us. It's always important.
We'll see.
We love our regulars. It's a good thing, that is. So guys, please tell us about yourselves, and also just what got you passionate about the performing arts industry, in particular with theatre and film. So who wants to go first?
Dean can go first.
Take your pick.
Alphabetically.
Sure.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Right. Well. Yeah. As David mentioned, I have been here before. The last time I was here, I was plugging. In an album of mine just released. So yeah, I do that. I'm a musician. I'm an actor, a writer, and a composer. At the moment, and I guess that the reason that myself and Holly are here is we're performing in a play at Flight Path Theatre in Marrickville, starting at the end of July, called Teenage Dick, which is a modern reimagining of Shakespeare's Richard III. So that's what we do. Yeah, I guess passionate about the performing arts just because I really always have. I bounced into theatre from being in music, and then from there kind of stumbled ass first into film. I think all of these things kind of get interconnected after a little while. I didn't start in theatre or film just because I didn't really. There were no disabled people on TV or on the stage that you would see at that time, so it just didn't seem like a viable option. But I always felt like I could write music, so that'd be fine. And then just kind of, as the years progressed, started to find little nooks in the industry that I could fit into, and where there weren't those nooks, I would kind of carve them out myself. So yeah, that's me.
Mine's kind of similar. Always
Fantastic. And
I'll go. Yeah, similar story to
yeah,
Dean.
so you, Holly,
Yeah,
tell us your story.
you never
Quickly.
think about yourself as a person with a disability when you're little. You just think of yourself as a person. So you have your loves and your interests, which for me were like art and music, and obsessed with movies and TV shows, especially weird ones that had weird effects in them, like obsessed with The Fly when I was a little kid, and just how did they even manage to make that happen. Oh no, Dean. Oh, there he is. So I'd always been just interested in creating weird things ever since I was little. I'm acting with Dean in Teenage Dick, but it's going to be the first time I've acted since high school. I was really into acting at school, but they, like Dean said, there was no one with disabilities on stage or on TV, in films. Like, I'm a person that uses a wheelchair, so that's, you never see that, especially in theatre. And I got told that I shouldn't continue acting in the HSC or after the HSC, and so I didn't. And so this whole experience has been really cool because the playwright has said that the people that are disabled in the play need to be cast as people with those disabilities. So going through the audition process was really interesting and enlightening, talking to different people about their experience with disability, even if they aren't disabled characters, just because they're in a play about it. We would ask people that were auditioning, what's their experience, especially at acting school. And even now people are saying, oh, there's no way they'd let someone with a disability into our acting school or even into our private performing arts high school. So even this day and age, that's still happening,
Yeah.
which is sad. But like Dean said, you can find a niche and you can really carve it out if you work super hard. So I graduated school, went to art school, and then all this time later now, I'm a production designer and a costume designer primarily in theatre and film. And so work in the art department on big things and then design smaller things myself. But it is a grind to find that place where you fit. But yeah.
Okay, so I must ask both of you this question as well, just off the back of that. Does the stage have wheelchair access
Flight Path
for the
does.
current
Flight Path is like,
production group?
Even me as someone who, designs and builds sets in the theaters, drilling things together and that, I'm anxious when I go to a theater because I don't know what kind of access it's going to have and all that kind of stuff. So I get nervous going to a theater that I haven't worked in before because I don't know what it's going to be like. But if anyone's ever wants to go to the theater ever and they have any kind of access worries, go to Flight Path. It's literally a flat box with the world's longest, flattest ramp up to it. Yeah, it's a great place for accessibility. Yeah.
Fantastic. How about you, Dean?
Cold though.
Do you do you face access challenges as well or not?
Look, my access barriers are a lot less. So not so much. Though when I was gigging, primarily, and you're playing in pubs and small bars and attics of venues and stuff. On behalf of my friends, I would always be calling venues to make sure they were accessible when we were playing at them. And so many times, carrying, like, with permission, carrying friends' wheelchairs up massive flights of staircase into into dingy venues, to find out that the accessible bathroom was being used as a dressing room or a green room, all kinds of craziness. So I find, and a lot of theatre spaces, or even rehearsal spaces and stuff, are kind of repurposed from old factories and warehouses and things like that. So there's definitely no accessibility code, or no up to scratch one for places, a lot of the time. So it definitely does make it harder, both as a performer, but also for audience members and stuff as well. I find theatre, there's a lot of privilege in being able to access live theatre a lot of the time.
So like that sounds like one more episode we could cover, right? A story we could cover is access in the performing arts community.
Yeah.
How long have you got? Yeah.
Yeah, 1,000 years.
It'd be a good episode, I think.
I've got a question.
Yeah, go for it, David.
Not knowing what your disabilities are you both on wheelchairs or?
I am.
Yeah,
I'm not. I'm hemiplegic, mostly. Can move around quite independently 90% of the time.
Yeah, I just use a manual wheelchair. I had a random blood clot on my spinal cord when I was a fetus. Very random.
Okay.
Poor fetus.
You must be a good carpenter.
Yeah, I'm a great carpenter, actually.
Yeah.
Holly's building all the sets for our show, and
yeah,
the designs look incredible, absolutely incredible.
What's the best thing? The best thing you've built?
I built a set for my graduating year at Enmore Design Centre, and it was like it looked like massive, kind of like, it looked like massive steel beams that were all rusted and like rusted wrought iron, but actually it was made of CNC cut MDF stapled to a whole bunch of just pine truss built. Yeah, it's on my website.
Wow.
And we built a big fake terrace house.
Wow.
And then painted it on this like crazy hypercolor kind of trippy look, and then painted this like really super realistic fake floor that looked like real wood. Just lots of cool stuff like that.
If you like, do you want to share your website?
It's just my name, so hollyjanecole.com. Yeah.
Maybe we can put that in our
Fantastic.
search ever. If you would like it to be searched.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yep, sounds good. Right, so I'm going to you then, Dean. Can you tell us how your family upbringing and background actually helped you with your career that you have now?
How it influenced it? Yeah, for sure. I think I grew up in in Western Sydney, and all of my friends were massive into sport. If it wasn't rugby season, it was cricket season, and neither of those things appealed to me very much at all. And so, like, I figured they all had things that they kind of, it's tied to their identity, and so for me, I just kind of stumbled into music, and so like that kind of made me feel really strong and capable in, especially younger, at a time when I didn't really feel that a lot, and it also, especially theatre, gave me agency to feel kind of connected to my body when I didn't really feel it a lot. So I guess kind of being around the people that I was around and coming from a very, I guess, kind of sport orientated and very blue collar family as well. Like I had a drive to kind of find my own thing, and it ended up being that.
Right.
I'll talk.
Yeah. Yeah, and you, Ollie? What is your background, your upbringing background like with your career? How did it help you?
I grew up on the South Coast, where there was no other disabled people anywhere near me. My family were pretty poor, and so I grew up around my dad building everything for us, building our house, pulling apart our cars and putting them back together, and being really involved in that with him. Going and shooting animals to eat. Some of our family have native title to hunt and fish and stuff, so we're always doing things like that. So people on the South Coast, there's nothing to do. This is pre-internet. So you're like running around in the bush, you're like surfing when it's summer, you're skating when it's winter. And I didn't see myself as any different from anyone else. So I just did what everyone else did, and I found ways around things that I couldn't do. And so I really just felt like I had agency to do whatever I wanted if I found a way around it. Like I didn't have this big label on myself as like less than everyone else or less able than everyone else. And my parents never told me, oh, you can't do that because you're in a wheelchair or whatever. So that I felt really grateful that they just let me do whatever I, go camping with my friends, fine, just crawl around on the beach in the sand and whatever. So I just felt the same, which was a really great way to grow up. When I started training for the Paralympics, because I'd been doing track and road racing since I was about 8, and we'd drive up to Sydney to compete and stuff. And then we moved to Sydney the year before the Paralympics to train. And I'd meet a lot of people who were like, oh, yeah, I want to be in the Paralympics too. And you'd kind of like do outreach and meet people who wanted to get into it. And there'd be a lot of people whose parents didn't let them do anything and like really much forced the label of disability onto those people. And you could see that they had a lot more potential than they were allowed to do. And that was really upsetting. And it made me realize how lucky I'd been. And basically, it just gave me this ability to when people said no, you can't do that, for me to say, well, why? And I think without that, there's literally no way I would have been able to do what I've done in my career, because I haven't met another costume designer or production designer or even crew on a film set in a wheelchair in this country. And I've asked other people, like the production designers guild and the union here, do they know of anyone? And they've said no, because it's so hard. People just don't expect it. And honestly, that I know of so far, when I turn up, people think I'm an actor, and I'm like, nah, I'm the standby costumes or whatever. Like, people more so expect me to be an actor than a crew. And so it's very interesting. But without that that grounding in just like, I'm gonna roll around the bush with a gun and shoot rabbits.
When it comes to that push to be the first, like within a crew type set designing position that you have in a Holly. I mean, I guess like I mean, you would have had to confront better challenges with that, wouldn't you? I mean, there'd probably be quite a few that to overcome, right?
There's been so many jobs I got hired for and then unhired for when people found out I was in a wheelchair, because they think I can't do it, because they have, everyone with a disability gets that like thing that happens when people have a preconception of what you can and can't do. And obviously there's things I can't do. I can't rig lights, I can't climb up a ladder, but that's also not what my job is. So when people hire me, I always have a discussion and say, look, this is what my job is, these are the things I can do. But people sometimes get too scared to ask a question or have a proper conversation. And so a few times I had been hired and then unhired without having a conversation, and people think, oh, you're in a wheelchair, you need extra help, or you need this and that. The truth is I don't need any of that. Like, I can jump backwards down the stairs in my wheelchair, I can move all my stuff around, I can build a set. Like, people don't expect that, but they also don't stop to ask. So it's been hard, really hard, and there's been a million times I wanted to quit, but then I think like how hard it's going to be for someone else. So maybe if I just do it, it's less hard next time for someone else. Sounds gross.
It's rather commendable what you're doing, Cohle. I think it's really fantastic.
I mean, it's those preconceived notions around
like,
disability, right?
and then,
Yeah.
yeah, and then when it comes to your challenges on the stage, I mean, what challenges have you faced, like being a musician and being an actor?
Well, I think just
Like,
further on what
yeah.
I think just further on what Holly was saying, it's not it tends to be the social barrier is more the issue. The preconceived notions about what it means to have somebody who identifies as having a disability on board or on the crew or in the rehearsal room. So you don't really get a chance to get in the room in the first place a lot of the time. And those preconceived notions are so like systemically imbued in society that like where do you even start dismantling that other than by just trying to be there and trying to be unfortunately trying to be the first or trying to be like the pioneer and wading through the shit so that the next generation has it a little bit easier, which is what the generation before us did and before us did. But yeah, I think for me as an actor, it's finding roles to play. Which is why this show is really exciting. It is the first character with cerebral palsy that I'll be playing that I didn't write myself. So I think that's yeah. I know it's there just isn't any. So I either play a character that wasn't written to be disabled, but is by the very virtue of me playing them. So they're not coded as disabled, which isn't the greatest representation. Or I write my own roles. Like that tends to be it. So it's yeah.
Fantastic, yeah, that's really great. Guys, questions?
Don't you just hate when they preconceive what you can and what you can't do?
Yep. Hate it.
Because I get that with me also.
Yeah, on a daily basis, people do it.
On a daily basis.
Yeah.
They tell you what you can do or what you can't do. Because when I was able to see, I was always changing the light or fixing anything. And then at home, because something is wrecked, they'll whisper it. They won't let me know because they'll know I want to do it. Even though I can do it, but they'll hide it from me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I feel like it's a daily struggle to maintain composure and not I find it hard every day not to get mad about it because just every day people just will look at you and just make a judgment and just treat you weird because of it. It's pretty infuriating.
Maybe one day you will like to do something together.
Yeah, look, I think
I don't think there's I feel pretty safe in saying I don't think there's a disabled person alive who doesn't experience that on like at least a weekly basis, right? Like I don't think it's unique. I think it's a really systemic thing that just needs to be challenged. I think in theatre and film in particular, they refer to disability as like the last avant-garde in film and theatre, and like we've kind of really started to explore. Yeah, I know it's ick, but they
We're so
we're so ick. And they've really started to explore a lot of maybe not enough yet for any sort of and I hate kind of the term, but like any sort of marginalized group as well. We've really started to kind of delve into more authentic stories across the board, and I think that builds empathy, which builds the desire to kind of learn more. If you look at
I suppose the
rise in like really female-driven art and in queer art and stuff like that. There absolutely needs to be a ton more of it. But the fact that it kind of has its roots in the 90s, you look at the etymology of that. You look at like for 90s and early 2000 rom-coms, you only had like the really flamboyant gay best friend. Like that was the only archetype that you could have. But then over the decade or so, we've been allowed to create more nuanced and characters, and suddenly gender and sexuality don't have to be the very center of these characters. Because slowly we started off with a society that kind of done that, and then it kind of grew as we created human stories of connection, well, yeah. So it wasn't just queer stories or gay stories. It was human stories that had those elements. And I think we've really yet to do that with disability that much. And so unless you've got,
I was just going to say, I think you can really see the correlation between funding going to things and those stories coming out, even if that's over quite a long period of time. Because it used to be that there was lots of funding for diverse mentorship placements and development of things, but so often they were for BIPOC, queer, feminist stuff, but disability was never a category that's covered. And last time I looked, STC didn't have disability covered in any of their mentorship programs. So places like the Hayes have disability covered in their mentorship stuff. I know Malthouse Theatre does, but like some big companies don't have disability covered under their like diversity mentorship and support placement programs. So it's just a massive block in the road. I mean, and some of us could get in under other banners, but you shouldn't be having to, if disability is one of the main, and you don't want to take a place of someone under queerness when you could be going in under a disability banner. So yeah, I feel like you're so right when it's the last really needed some, I don't know, it's shut down on stage naked for everyone to be an R at.
I think, yeah, and I think it's I mean, it's a huge, it would be such a massive step in kind of bridging that. Yeah.
But it's getting better, but slowly.
Dean, like this next question goes probably more to you than it does to Holly. Sorry, Holly.
No worries.
I think we might have just lost David.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
the question is there on the bottom of our screen, so I'll read out the question and then I'll answer it. The question is, what
advice would you give people with disabilities in Australia wishing to enter the performing arts community?
I think Holly could absolutely.
Dane, if you can just read the question and then answer it.
Sure.
Oh, the question.
I think Jonathan covered it really well, and I think Holly could absolutely chime in on this as well, especially from the behind the scenes aspect of performing arts, which we absolutely definitely need more people who identify as having a disability in that area as well. But as for just in general performing, I'd just say do it. In all honesty, you're going to have a million. You're going to have people who tell you not to. You're going to have people who tell you maybe don't do it for the HSC, right? And you're going to have people who kind of tell you it's a bit of a pipe dream, but you know what? Anybody going into the arts is going to have people telling them that it's a bit of a pipe dream and maybe they shouldn't do it. But if you love it, go for it. Just be prepared to do things differently, just a little bit differently. You're going to have to make your own shots a lot of the time. It's an unfortunate reality that you're probably just going to have to work a little bit harder at it. But I mean, if more people are doing it, then we kind of, I don't know, we start to bridge that gap, you know. So jump in, be loud about it, be vocal, and take up space. Be unapologetic about that. I think that's the best advice I could give.
I think that's really good advice, because I think the mistake I made when I first came into this industry was actually to try and take up as little space as I could, and to make my I guess my impact be my work and just my work. But then I was like, actually, my work is amazing, and I can be my work, speak for my work, and then I can speak for like how much everything sucks and needs to be better. And I can do both those things. I don't just have to do one. And actually just sitting there quietly and doing good work isn't only just one thing that you can do. And I just think the more people that get into the industry, the better. It is so hard. And you really have to be prepared for a really hard fight. Like some of the stories Dean's told me about his auditions are so grim. And but like it's just so worth it to do the thing that you like, and to have you know, it to pay off when you see something incredible that you've made with people. And I think the two pieces of really great advice that I would give is to find other people that are creative. They don't have to be disability people that you like to work with, and surround yourself with those people. Try and make things with those people as much as you can. And even if you're just an actor, not just an actor, but even if you're an actor, try and like keep making stuff. Like Dean writing stuff for himself. Like I'm a designer, but I'm also trying to produce work as a producer. Like always trying to make things, because people aren't just always going to come to you to give you work. Like always be writing something, producing something, thinking of something to make. You got to like really be on the hustle, like way more, because people are going to give you less jobs, but you can generate really cool content and work. And just if people tell you no, just don't accept no. Just think, why are they saying no? Like just try and, to a point, someone's going to say no and you have to go, yeah, okay. But like, first off, no's, be like, why, and have a conversation about why that no is, and make sure it really is a no for the right reason.
Exactly.
So you're trying to say never give up. Just make sure there's a reason for why there is a no, and understanding that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And don't take no and go silent.
Yeah, like I might be unqualified for a job. So if someone said, no, you can't have this job because maybe I don't have the right qualifications, that's fine. But if that's clarified in a conversation, fine. But if they're saying, oh, actually, we think it might be a bit hard for you to go on this this shoot because it's in a national park, which is one of the jobs I got on hired for, I'd be like, well, it's not that hard because actually I've got this power assist thing for my wheelchair and blah, blah, blah. You know, like check why someone's saying no to you and learn from it, basically.
Make sure you've got to come back.
Yeah, exactly.
A reasonable one. You've got to know what your limits are, because like I do have physical limits that if I took a job that I couldn't do, I'd look stupid and I'd wreck someone's work, you know. So I do need to know my physical limits, and if I have an assistant that I can take, or if someone can offer me an assistant, like I still have to operate like a professional and do my work, especially on a film set, in a timely and efficient manner, because time is money on a film set. But you've just got to make sure like people aren't kicking you to the curb without having a good reason.
I reckon that's
yes.
I was just gonna add. I mean, it's the same in front of the camera, right? Like, I'm not gonna be mad if I don't get leads in action films, you know, or playing soldiers and stuff like that. Like, there are like, you know, being aware of the limitations that are real and the ones that are perceived, and kind of knowing the difference between the two of those.
That's a great way to put it. Thank you.
So, guys, to both you now, turning to the your current production and of High School is Murder. How did that come about for both of you?
Yeah, cool.
So Teenage Dick is the name of the show. I stumbled into it. The director is just a wonderful human being named Dan Graham. He will appreciate the shout out, I'm sure. He was sup Dan. He did this show in Perth pretty recently, and he was chatting about it, and he asked me if I'd be interested in auditioning, and I said no to start with, because it is set in a high school, and for anybody listening along in the podcast, I'm a 33-year-old man who looks about 38. So I was like, maybe not the best fit, Dan. And then he asked me if I would like to come on as a sound designer instead, and I was like, yes, that I can do. And he sent me the script, and I read the script, and I fell in love with the script, and I called him back and I said, damn it, Dan, I'll audition. And then the rest is history.
Oh dear. I was working on a different play, and someone said, "Oh, this guy Dan Graham, he pitched this amazing play to Flight Path Theatre," and I love Flight Path Theatre, and everyone there's rules. And my friend who said he saw the pitch was like, "Oh, it's really good. I trust that friend, Angus Evans. He's a great producer and director." And said, "Oh yeah, this guy wants like to try and get more disabled people on board with it." And I was like, "Oh, I don't normally do disabled stuff for disabled stuff's sake, and I only do it if it's good." So I contacted Dan, and then he sent me the script, and literally it's the best script I've ever read for a play. It's so funny, it's so biting, it's so awesome. So I said, yeah, sure, I'll design for you. That'll be great. And then Dan and I went to a show together to watch this guy's amazing one-man show about queerness and disability. What was it called, Dean? Do you remember? Blurring Lines or something?
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was it. Chris Bryant? Yeah.
Yeah, it was so funny anyway. And then I was just being my normal annoying self, and Dan was like, "Oh, do you want to audition for the role of Buck, who's Richard's best friend in the play?" And I was like, "I don't really act." And he's like, "Please, will you audition?" So then I auditioned, and I was also like, for the people who are only listening, I'm 39 and maybe I look 33, and also have to play a teenager. So I was like, I don't know. But it turns out that us old idiots are both playing teenagers with people who are much younger than us now. But I think it'll be fine. As I'm the designer, I get to choose that we're all going to wear school uniforms, and I think that'll help a lot. So yeah, just, weird word of mouth and people knowing people. And I think just a great script will bring together a really great team, and that's kind of what's happened for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Phenomenal. It's a phenomenal team. It really is. It's a phenomenal team and phenomenal script. I think it's just
you're like and also guys, like it premieres when?
The 19th of July.
Yeah, that's it. It runs from the 19th of July until the 5th of August.
And it's playing just in Sydney and New South Wales, or is it around the country?
We have a short run. We can dream. At the moment, we have a short run at Flight Path Theatre in Marrickville from the 19th of July until the 5th of August. So that's 12 shows over that amount of time. So if you're in Sydney and you're in the inner west, in particular, actually, if you're anywhere in Sydney, it's worth the time.
Yeah, it's not very far to come. It's got good parking.
No. Fantastic.
Would I be,
Alright, guys,
would I be
question?
able to understand it? Being blind?
Oh yeah.
I might come watch it. I'm not too far from there.
Please do.
Please do come and watch it. Absolutely. I think it's a rare piece of really excellent disability representation in that it's got this sort of multifaceted, multi-lens view of disability through the eyes of multiple disabled characters, as well as non-disabled characters with various levels of like ableistic viewpoints as well. And I think it does a lot to kind of unveil a lot of, I suppose, lived experience. And so if you are a person with lived experience of disability, it's a kind of show that you kind of leave validated and challenged, and I think exactly the same if you're if you're not a person with lived experience of disability. It's a rare insight, I think, and I think you'll leave the show, you'll spend the show laughing, and you'll leave the show thinking, and I think that's a really special thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's a secret thing for us disabled people that we're like poking non-disabled people with. It's like a weird little sword that we have, this show. I really feel like it's a secret weapon we've got. So I'd encourage people to come and see it.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you can,
tell us when you're coming, because we're going to do accessibility tour of the set and the props and stuff too for people who have vision impairment if they want to come. So
yeah.
I also like kind of do we get backstage privileges with the
backstage is worse than the front stage, let me tell you.
Yeah. It's a little theater that doesn't even really have a backstage.
Oh, geez, how disappointing! See, terrible. Shocking.
We'll save you a good seat. Just let us know when you come.
Excellent. We'll do that. So guys, when it comes to stress, how do you both actually manage stress in your careers?
I think it just becomes from a performing standpoint, there is good stress and there is bad stress, and I think we need the good stress as a motivator and sometimes as part of your characterization and part of your process. I think you just you lean into that, and I suppose with the bad stress, you just try and build processes around your art so that it kind of minimizes it, or then you just have your comfort food. I find helps me a lot as well. We're now we're like 4 weeks away from opening and in rehearsals, and everybody's having the best time, and it's really cool. But regardless of how well a show is in rehearsal, when you're 4 weeks out from open, you do start to get a little bit, the nerves kick in and everything kind of gets heightened. And so you just the best thing about theater is that you do it together. I think that's the best way to manage stress in these situations, together.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
How about you, Holly?
I find like stress in my job is good. I feel like I never feel quite right unless I'm stressed and rushing, and as long as there's something that I can act on in a stressful situation, I feel fine. Like I love moving forward. Maybe I'm like a shark in another life where I've got to keep swimming, got to keep chasing. I struggle with stress that I can't act on or have anything to do with kind of like people treating us weirdly or things like that. I struggle with that kind of stress, and so I feel like I kind of channel that into work stress, like maybe doing too many jobs or taking on too much work, that kind of thing. So that's probably not great, but that's what I do. But it is really great to be part of a good team.
Question. So your stress is more like trying to prove that you can do something. Trying to prove to others that you can do what they're asking of you.
I probably feel like I'm more just keeping my mind like just totally overwhelmed, so I don't have to think about just idiots, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah. Probably I used to feel like that. Like maybe in my 20s, I had a real I had a real thing to prove. But now that I'm older, I'm like, I don't have to prove anything to anyone.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah. But I don't want to also think about any of those people that are weird in the street. So I'm just like, let's work now.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny today? I was walking, and a lady told me, "You're brave." What?
Yeah.
Oh, it must be so hard. Or yeah, it's the worst.
You're walking. You're walking. You can't see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Thanks.
So, we come to our very, very last question now. Oh, beg your pardon, we got a comment. Jonathan, can you read that for us?
From Sarah, the theater I worked to perform told me only 4 weeks before the show that the lift onto the stage was broken and they were not fixing it, and I was the performer. I needed to get on the stage to cancel my show. It took months to find someone who told me about it.
Wow.
Yeah, look,
I think, and you know, having venues and stuff and companies neg on contracts over accessibility is unfortunately way too common. I think there's this thought process that accessibility is, you know, having accessibility set up in these venues is a privilege rather than a right, which is, you know,
Yeah.
But I think that it's unfortunate. I'm really sorry to read that.
Yeah,
Really
that's
shitty.
gross and not surprising. And I've got a literal aversion to lifts in places. And if someone goes, "There's a lift," I'm like, "Lol, that doesn't mean anything." Like, I basically think that doesn't matter because how many times is it going to work, or is it going to be covered in stuff, or is there going to be things in front of it? Like, that's terrible. And I'll say, like, so many times when I'm on location filming somewhere, people go, yeah, there's toilets. I go, are there? Are there disabled toilets? They go, oh, yeah, there are. I go, okay. And then I go and there's no disabled toilets, or I go and there's not even a toilet that's wide enough for me to fit in, even if it's not a disabled toilet. And I told them, like, there won't be toilets. I promise you there won't. And there's not. So I just, like, literally can't drink or go to the toilet all day, even though I told someone, I bet there won't be toilets, and they promise you there are. Like, you just get to this point where you don't trust anything anyone says, and it just makes you not want to do anything, which is, like, terrible. And I don't know what much you can say to a comment like that, except for, like, sorry and totally understand what you're going through. What theatre? That's terrible.
Sounds like a story for us to cover.
I'm thinking go to Enmore because they don't need a lift.
Yeah.
I shall be making some follow-up inquiries.
Yeah, do that.
I think in coming weeks to pursue this issue, because I think it's quite telling. So guys, when it comes to go to
I've got a question for her. When you build your ramps, do you usually put like like edges on there so the like curbs so your wheelchairs don't pull off?
Oh, me?
Has
Yes.
Oh, I don't know what's happened to
You know
me.
how you've got a ramp?
Where do I have a ramp?
No, you know when you build a stage, do you design like with the stage? Do they put curbs on the ramps? So
Oh, there's
wheelchairs
already a
don't
stage
pull off?
there. So I don't have to build a
Okay.
stage. There's already is one.
Okay.
And it's just up to the theatre whether that's accessible or not, depending on which theatre that I'm in. And far the ones that I've been, the few that I've been to so far have all been accessible for actors.
And they've got curbs on the side,
They're
so
flat.
you know pull off.
They're not. There's not even a step. So if you go to Flight Path, it's just a flat. It's basically a flat box. Straight onto
Okay.
the stage from the backstage. The other place I worked was the New Theatre. I just did the costumes there, but the stage there is also just like flat from the backstage area up to the stage. But at that theatre, the dressing room actually is upstairs. So if you're an actor acting at the New Theatre, you would have to no, actually, I had to jump down the stairs there. So if you're at the New Theatre, you'd struggle. I jumped down the stairs in my wheelchair. If you couldn't do that, they'd have to figure something else out for you. But once you get down to where the stage is, yeah.
How do you go back up there?
There's another set of stairs from the backstage area down to the back alleyway, so I jumped down there.
Okay.
See what I mean? Like, there's all these workarounds that everyone does in different ways. So I feel like there's no blanket. There's like literally no way you could easily make that theatre accessible. So it's really I'm
Like,
lucky
so
that I could
Holly-
work there. Yeah.
okay. So looking at all the things we discussed then, like in today's episode,
Yeah.
what would you and what would your opinion? What would your vision be for the performing arts community? Vis-a-vis like how they cater for people with disabilities, both in like a professional sense and also in like an audience sense. And also, what would your advice be for people wanting to actually enter the this? And I'll ask the same question to you, Dean, in a sec.
I think we answered the entering the performing arts one earlier. But
Yeah.
it's so the making things accessible for audiences is just so completely different from making it accessible for other people. So the New Theatre is a good one to look at for that because it is accessible for audiences. So if you, as a wheelchair user, for instance, go to the New Theatre, there's like one of those little platform lift things that lifts you up to a row of seats that have been removed for you to watch the show, and then there's a disabled toilet that's always kept open and not full of cleaning junk or whatever they put in them normally in the foyer for you to use. It's completely accessible for people to watch theatre there, and they're very conscientious about all that equipment working all the time. But if you're to work there, once you get up into the seats, you have to walk down the steps from the seats to get to the back of stage. And there's no lift down those stairs. They're big, wide stairs, though. So I can jump down those stairs. To get every single theatre that's like that in Sydney accessible for every type of wheelchair would be like a lot of money. I mean, that would be the best outcome so that everyone could get everywhere. I don't see that happening soon, but that would be the outcome. But in the meantime, what I would like people to do, the best thing that people could do would be to be more open to hire people with disabilities and actually just ask them how capable are they? How, if you're a designer, do you have to come there? Can you meet them somewhere else? Can you get involved in a different way? I'm lucky that I could go in there and that I've got the physical ability enough to jump down those stairs. But there's theatres that have accessibility, and places like STC that have a mentorship program that doesn't include disability. It should. Just more awareness and acceptingness, and people happy to have conversations around it would be a good interim step before we can change all the old buildings, which I don't think they'll ever prioritize. But that's just really disappointing. But I feel like it might be a reality.
I've got a question. Different wheelchairs have different accessibility to different areas. Would it be better if they supplied the wheelchairs for the area to make it more accessible for everyone? I know it's more expensive, but for example, this type of chair will be more accessible in this area.
I just think that, like, for instance, if you use an electric chair, that you wouldn't be able to get places I could get. So if you're an electric chair user, you wouldn't be able to go the places that I went when I was working there.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah.
You couldn't even jump up a gutter, and there's so many gutters around where we are. Like, it's shit. It sucks.
Dean, your vision. What would you say?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
It's such a big question, right? I think so. There's a term I really like called the aesthetics of access, and it's the concept of
no, that's a good term.
It's a good phrase, and it rolls right off the tongue. The aesthetics of access, and
the aesthetics of accessibility. I love it.
Yeah, the idea behind it is that in the creation of anything, whether it be building an actual premises or the foundation of an organization, you have inclusivity at the very center of how this thing's going to work. Not necessarily just for disability access, but across the board inclusion. So if your entire design is based on how do we create a multifaceted thing that includes everybody, and then you start eliminating access barriers. And what is disability other than access barriers, right? For those listening that aren't familiar with like the social model of disability, I have an analogy that I will reiterate over and over and over again. And essentially, it's this: if you woke up tomorrow and 98% of the population could fly, and you were one of the 2% of the population who could not fly, at that very moment you wouldn't be disabled, right? You would just be a guy who couldn't fly. But fast forward like 2 years down the track, and all of a sudden nobody's maintaining roads anymore, and the entry into buildings is on the 3rd or 4th floor with no staircases that go up to it. And socially, people are like, loath to hire you because they don't want to do anything about that. And suddenly they're creating terms like, walkies instead of flyers or whatever. All of a sudden now you have physical and social barriers. Now you're disabled. And so, disability is nothing but access barriers. And if we start being mindful about the way that we build stuff with inclusion at the center, access at the center, then we start removing those barriers. And all of a sudden, this isn't a conversation that needs to happen anymore. But, it's a complicated thing to do. You kind of can't go around completely bulldozing down and rebuilding old buildings from scratch. And, you know, there's all going to be, this is just like ideal world kind of stuff. But yeah, I think just to further on what Holly was saying, just kind of you know, just hiring people with lived experience of disability more is huge. Just for those conversations, just for paving the way, is a huge step. Huge.
What a great way to finish our episode. So the both of you get your a final thought for our audience, for the both of you. So whoever wants to go first, you can give us your final thought, your takeaway. You'd like our audience to decide what you said in the episode.
Yeah. I want to take my last just to plug the show one more time. That's what I want to do.
Please do.
So yeah, so I mean, it's an incredible little show. The concept of it being that, you know, Richard III was one of history's, the way Shakespeare wrote him anyway, was one of history's greatest villains, and he was disabled, and the only disabled character that Shakespeare ever wrote. Please don't fact check me on that. I actually do fact check me on that. I might be, but I think he's not the only disabled character that Shakespeare ever wrote, and he was written as such a villain, and it was the physical disability, was showing him as having a physical disability that made him obviously the villain to the audience. And this, that's it, in a modern way, makes Richard a teenager with cerebral palsy, who has this complex of villainy thrust upon him by society, and he takes it and he owns it, and that sort of like, yeah, that commentary is so interesting, and the characters are amazing, and the other actors that we're playing with, sometimes I kind of just want to be like, I'm not worthy. They're so great.
They're so good.
Every element of this show is fantastic. I usually don't say that about shows that I'm in. I get real nervous about the whole imposter syndrome of how they're building up, but I really love this show. And yeah, I couldn't recommend it higher. So please come put bum on seats, see this work. Let's keep doing it.
Terrific. And of course, Holly, your takeaway?
All that stuff that Dean just said, that stuff, it's really awesome. Come and watch it. If you have a disability, you'll be like, yeah, and if you don't, you'll be like, whoa. So that, and also just like, we've talked a lot about sad stuff and hardcore stuff today, and so I just wanted to say that if you go about your day and you feel sad or stressed or harassed or whatever, it's okay to feel that way. You can feel sad and mad sometimes. I feel sad and mad sometimes, and that's all right. Give yourself permission to feel like that. I used to feel bad about feeling like that when stuff was hard, and it's okay to feel like that. And then just be like, whatever, and then go about trying to get what you want in life, like Dean and I do, because that's also hard, but it's also rewarding. So like, don't be too hard on yourself, and yeah. That's
terrific. And look, guys, make sure you both don't be strangers to our podcast. Please, Holly, make sure you're welcome to come back whenever you wish to have a chat with us again.
No worries.
Don't be strangers. We like regular friends here at CripChat Australia. We think it's always good to create allies and friends all over the place. And look, guys, you've been watching CripChat Australia weekly podcast for disability. Please like, share, and subscribe to this episode. And we'll see you all next week for next week's edition of CripChat. Thanks for joining us. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.